don't want to be on it. See a good driver. When you're anyway. You got it all set.
Okay.
What? I'm sorry.
I think so. Did I get a stop, Shirley? I got it, but I'm
Okay, I
probably
get
still on.
I'm married to him. We're
Before we begin, though, we'd like to sing the national anthem, which will be sung by the Centennials under the direction of Ted Sitz. So if we all please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Still can't hear me? Okay. What I said was, accompanying the Centennial group was the girls' choir under the direction of Valerie Holler. Somebody just requested that the fans be turned on. I've been told that they're not working. So. Don't blame me, please. I'm just working here tonight, that's all. Again, let me welcome everyone. What I'd like you all to do right now, we'll get this fixed yet, what I'd like you all to do is I want you all to stand. Everybody stand. And I want you all to say, "We are from Drake."
We are from Drake.
That was pretty timid. One more time.
We are from Drake.
That's better. We're going to try it one more time. And I'm not going to say a thing.
We are from Drake.
Okay. Thank you. A couple of announcements to make. First of all, the raffle is going on. Buy your raffle tickets at the back somewhere. Look for someone with raffle tickets. If you haven't, there will be a drawing at the end of the evening. Secondly, the silent auction. The bidding is going on now as we speak, and that will the announcements of who has bid what and who gets to take what home will be announced at the end of the program. Let me all say that all of us are here tonight because we're proud. We're proud of our roots and we're proud of our heritage. And even though many of us have scattered to the wind, we all have a very common bond. The old saying goes, if you keep going in the direction you're headed, you may end up there. Well, for some of us, that's taken many different paths. However, throughout the years, I know that for many of us, our paths and our directions have crisscrossed Many times because of that common bond that we all share. We're from Drake. And no one can ever change that fact. You know, 100 years ago, people braved a whole new world here on the prairies and on the northern plains. They were the pioneers of the plains. They were the pioneers of the autos and the planes and electricity and telephones, new crops, new medicines, and new dreams. So tonight we want to take a few moments to reflect and laugh, hopefully be happy, maybe a little sad at times, but most of all to have a good time as we share that common bond. Before we go into our formal program, I want to make a couple of introductions. First of all, I'd like to introduce to you my common bond, my wife Ruth over here. Ruth Seneschal Isaac from Drake. I grew up south of Drake, she grew up north of Drake. Last night Connie Sitz told me that whenever I was going that way, for those 3 or 4 years I was dating Ruth out there was never any gravel on the roads. I know there was a lot of dust sometimes. Also, some very special introductions tonight, going back to that heritage of Drake. In our presence tonight, we're very honored to have Fern Kittleson. Fern is from Enderlin, and she is the daughter of Herman Drake, the founder of Drake. She was born here in Drake, and she's joined us, and she's sitting right back there in that corner. Fern, why don't you wave to us?
Can you stand right there?
Right back here. Also, we have Dan Kittleson from Fargo, who would be the grandson of Herman Drake. Right back here. Dan? Also, Darris Drake's daughter, Shirley. Is she here? Right back here. And also, Charlie Drake, Charlie's son. Is he here? Right back here. Thank you for joining us on this very special night. Well, before we get started, you know, part of these roots, part of our common bond, is telling a few stories about Ole and Lars and Sven. Ole and Lars and Sven had been going to the Sons of Norway Hall meeting as long as there had been a hall, and every month they'd draw for a prize and they'd never win. And it was until the final meeting that they finally all won something in the drawing. Sven won some spaghetti, 4 boxes of noodles, and Swedish meatballs. Ole got himself round-trip tickets to Duluth, and he got to stay at the Dewdrop Inn and go to a polka ensemble. And Lars was the only one to have he was the last one to have his name drawn, and he won a toilet brush. So they got together in a month to see how their prizes had worked out, and they all sat down, and Sven said, "Oh, Ufta," he says, "I had that spaghetti for 3 days," he says, "and it was so good, and Helga didn't have to buy food for him there 3 days." And Ole said, "Oh, Lena was so happy when I brought home those tickets, and that trip to Duluth was so nice. We got to ride the Greyhound, and you know, they got a built-in outhouse on there, and oh, it was wonderful." And then they turned to Lars and asked him how his prize had worked out. And Lars looked at them both, and he said, "Well, I tell you, that your toilet brush is pretty nice, but I think I'll go back to using the paper." That remind you of anybody you grew up with? Okay. We're going to go right into a skit about Drake's humble beginnings. So I think you're all going to enjoy this very, very much. So sit back and enjoy.
Have wondered just who or what Drake was named after, with pictures of ducks on buildings, welcome signs, and on shirts, many figured that Drake was named after a duck. many of us are mistaken. Let us go back to the fall of 1899 and listen in on a conversation between a Buffalo Lake, Minnesota man named Herman Drake as he talks to a friend about starting a new life.
Hello, my friend. Yes, go ahead, Mike. Hello, my friend. I'm planning on moving to Wisconsin for some point.
Leave Minnesota, Herman. I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, I sold my farm, so I have to go somewhere.
Why don't you go to North Dakota? I've heard there's plenty of land there. You must use unclaimed.
That's a good idea, my friend.
And so he did. At the age of 39, Herman Drake set out on his journey to look over the unbroken prairie located near central North Dakota. He chose land that bordered the Sioux Line Railroad with a plan not only to make a home for himself and his family, but also to start a town. While he was building his first house, he slept on the prairie. His belongings surrounded him like walls, and the sky was his ceiling. At night, the music of the coyotes would often keep him awake. Some things never change, even in 100 years. In the spring of 1900, Herman sent for Mrs. Drake and their 8 children. Sons Charles, Frank, William, and Owen, and daughters Rosa, Albina, Fern, and Elsa. Times were tough for their family and the others in the area, and Herman was getting discouraged. In the fall of 1900, there was a shortage of food, and the East donated food and clothing.
I so wanted to be a part of Williamstown. It is part of the reason I settled in this area.
I know how you feel, Herman. Don't be too disappointed. We've been through so much hardship, but it's so beautiful here, and we do need it now. I think we should keep trying to set it. It's just so hard to do. I do. Like that.
Mr. Archie Billings told the men that he felt a plan could be worked out between the Sioux Line Railroad and local farmers, where the farmers would create the side of the track and the Sioux Line would lay the rail. Herman Drake and Charlie Kohler had a new determination and created a list of farmers who would donate the work of the teams to grade the side of the track. Then Mr. Drake went to Minneapolis to secure the deal with Sioux Line officials. The rest, as I say, is history. The foundation track was laid and Drake was to become a town in 1902, named after the man who never gave up on a wilderness area. be stated that the people one meets seems very happy. The surface is a rolling prairie interspersed with small lakes. Water is very good and easily obtained. Some people suffer from the lack of bridges and high slough water. Hey, was this letter written in the last year or two? It sure sounds like the conditions up north of Drake. For those of you who don't know, Ed Holman was a jack of all trades. He was a carpenter, plumber, and he built the camp, Martin, and roadie houses, not to mention the first power plant in Drake.
Hi, Miss Polly. How's the restaurant business going?
Hello, Mr. Vick. So nice to see you. We've been very busy lately. I serve 200 to 300 meals, like 30 to 35 pies, to make up to 50 gallons of soup each day. Something sometimes misses. A full meal is only 25 cents, and that includes a piece of pie.
Sounds like you were busy keeping the Christmas, Miss Polly. Next time I stop by, I'll bring this to Jake. Have a fine day, man. Doesn't matter.
Mr. Drake, always checking out my grammar. One of the best buildings in the county. Mike Crawford. Was the best $100,000 money could buy.
It is because the thing we put Bell back to the water tower in 1908. You know, another building has been lost in the school during 1917.
Miss Rosa Cately was a teacher in the first Drake School, which was built on a hill just south of town, earning a whopping $30 per year. Then in 1905, a school was built within the city limits. At the time of the fire, Professor Weber was the superintendent of the Drake City School. After the fire, school was held in the Catholic Church and in the City Hall. Life was not always pleasant in Drake. There were some hard and trying times while the town was in its infancy. None of us remember the gopher raids of 1901 to 1903, the smallpox epidemic of 1902, or the prairie fire in 1903. Then there was the flood of Rush Lake in 1902 that flooded the Winter River Valley and the Sioux Line Railroad tracks. What about the grasshopper plagues in 1917 and 1918? We've heard the stories from our ancestors of each of these events, but luckily we have never experienced them for ourselves. Thanks to Herman Drake, the Sioux Line Railroad, and the determined homesteaders who first staked their claims and took a chance on a wild prairie land. Drake, North Dakota, is still going strong, 100 years later.
Okay. Well, you know, as I look back upon Drake, I'm going to share some things with you here about who you remember, but there's a couple of things before I do that. A story about a couple from Drake here. You know, as you recall, you know, many years ago, families were very large. There were a lot of children in the family. It wasn't uncommon to have 8 to 15 children in the family. Well, back in those times, there was a gentleman from the area here who was he was really proud of the fact that he had 11 children. And he was so proud of that even in spite of his wife's party, and he decided it was time for them to leave. shouted out at the top of his lungs. He says, Mother of 11, shall we go home? Well, she was quite infuriated by that, let me tell you, and by his lack of discretion. So she shouted back, anytime you're ready, Father of 8. You know who gets the last word. And things that, think about. You remember in pictures, when the man sat and the woman stood behind him and neither smiled. I saw some of those this week of my grandparents, and that's about how it was. Do you remember when adding, subtracting, and multiplying and dividing were done in your head? You didn't use a computer. Do you remember when town kids walked to school? I remember that. You remember when nylon stockings had a seam up the back that had to be straight?
That's Mary Jo.
Or do you remember when pink paper or catalogs were used for toilet paper? How about, do you remember when the theater burned? I remember that day. We got out of school up here to walk down there and watch it. How about, do you remember getting a cherry Coke at the pharmacy and it was 10 cents? Remember when in Drake you could buy a Chevy, Ford, or a Dodge, or all three if you wanted. You could buy a John Deere, you could buy a Case, and you could buy an International tractor. 3 grocery stores lined Main Street. The street was full of cars from other states visiting Dr. Herdinsky. And when you were in the clinic, you could remember when the nurses shouted, well, we'll see you now, Mr. Isaac, about that bladder problem. I think not around the corner. Remember that. Haircuts were 50 cents. The current library over here was the gymnasium, and when I was here, that was the old gym. Remember when the Drake softball team won state titles? Before there were Class A's, B's, double A's, or whatever, there were no. But you remember men and women going off to war. You remember the draft. Remember 3-bottom plows? How about you remember when cars only had manual transmissions? Or hauling coal from the Velva mine? You remember when electricity first came? How about Santa Claus coming to town early on Saturday in December? Finally, how many of you remember when the Drake school colors were red and white? Anybody remember that? Well, they were. Then they went to maroon and gold, and now to black and silver. Those are just a few things that I remember. I'm sure there are many that you could think of as well. But they're all pretty good memories. And hopefully we'll make some more even while we're here yet this week. Before we go on to our musical selection, though, I want to comment to you about a young couple here in Drake that just moved in next door. They really do seem to be a loving pair. Each morning when he leaves for work, he kisses her goodbye. Every evening he brings her home a dozen roses. She said to her husband, why can't you do that? He said, well, gee, honey, I hardly know her. Anyway, we're going to have a musical selection now by the Raiders Girl Ensemble. here that were named Fred and Ethel, and every year they'd go to the state fair. That's a big event. I remember always going to the state fair when I was a kid. And when they were there, for years, Fred had wanted to take a ride in an airplane. Get rides in an airplane at the fair. But every year Ethel would say, you know, Fred, that airplane costs $10, and you know, $10 is $10. So Fred, he'd forego it every year. Well, as they were getting up in years, and Fred was 74 years old, and they went to the fair, and he said, you know, Ethel, look, I'm 74, and well, you know, you never know, and if I don't get that ride, that airplane this year, you know, I may never get another chance. And she said, well, but you know, Fred, that's $10. You know, $10 is $10. Well, the pilot of the plane happened to overhear the conversation, and he said, hey, look, I'll make you a deal. I'll take you both up for a ride, and if you can both stay quiet for the entire ride and not say a word, I won't charge you anything. But if you say one word, just one word, you're going to have to pay me the $10. So Fred and Ethel agreed. They thought they could do that. And so he took them up, and he did all kinds of rolls and dives and twists and turns and Lord knows what else. But neither one of them said a word. Not a one of them. And he tried to do it again. Not a word. So they finally landed, and the pilot turned to Fred and he said, gosh, I did everything I could think of to get you to yell out, and you never said a word. Fred said, well, you know, I was going to say something when Ethel fell out. But you know, $10 is $10.
Sorry. If Herman Drake hadn't decided to come to North Dakota instead of going to Wisconsin, if he hadn't homesteaded where Drake is now located, and if, as a youth, Drake hadn't changed his name from Draw to Drake, then the city wouldn't bear the name it now does. Drake went from an unbroken prairie in 1899 to a thriving little city by the year 1938. Part of their pride was in the education they were providing. The school had 221 pupils, 147 in the elementary grades, and 74 in high school. Despite only having a population of 750, Drake supported 4 churches: German Lutheran, Norwegian Evangelical Lutheran, United Brethren, and Catholic. There were also an enormous number of businesses as of 1938. Can you believe the following list? 5 general stores owned by J.C. Penney & Company, A.L. Saresic, Gus Janavaris, Fred Burgermeister, and Fred Button. 4 hardware stores, Gamble's, owned by Ed Murbach, Bozert, Schrader, and Bethke. A bakery owned by Mr. Romsland, a dry cleaners, 3 barbershops, 2 beauty shops, 4 filling stations, a post office, a Sioux Line Depot and Express office, 3 garages owned by Eichhorn, Peters, and Charles Drake, an electric shop owned by Treasure, a blacksmith shop, 3 grain elevators operated by Orchard, Antone, and Atlantic Company, the Drake Insurance Agency owned by William Shook, a dentist office owned by Dr. A. B. Parmater, Victor Steen's attorney's office. Drake also had a 26-bed hospital owned by Dr. C. O. Raleigh. Assisting Dr. Raleigh was Dr. O. Johnson. Roy and Ruth Hickey owned a pharmacy drugstore. Wow, Drake sure was a booming business down in the 30s. As I highlight some of the early events leading up to the millennium, local community members and students will be parading across the stage in clothes representative of the times. Sit back and enjoy our version of the Dirty 30s to the new millennium. First, we'll start off with a few outfits representing the times from 1900 to 1920. Just in his red striped tank suit, Eric Blumegan is sure to make a splash at any lake shore or beach he dares to show up at. Reminiscent of swimwear of the turn of the century into the 20s, this suit would probably put Eric in the overdressed category at most beaches in the present The Oddfellows and Rebecca's Masquerade by Helen Jones and Ernest Jones in 1917. The fabric was printed on T.E. Slight's printing press using dies showing advertisements of local businesses in 1917. And the use of the decade helped to break down the excessive formalities. Amanda Martin models this sheer, free-flowing chiffon creation from the 20s. This dress was worn by Ruth Jones Hetty. Amanda is wearing makeup that was popular in the 1920s. Vivid lipstick and rouge, a firework powder, was popular as color was fashionable. Lips were shaped bunnies. Originally, the dress had a free-falling coat from the same fabric. Fashionable men of the 20s looked younger and slimmer than those of the generation before. Josh Vogel's suit is an example of the men's high fashion of the 20s. Button slides and Susan pants were replaced by slide fasteners or zippers in the 30s. The dirty 30s, as they were called, were years of drought, dust storms, grasshoppers, and temperatures that went up to 106 degrees. But people kept faith. From 1929 until its fire in 1964, a theater was operated by Mrs. Hyla Forrest. A.L. Benson built a new filling station south of the tracks. The Alumni Association formed and planted a movement. The Legion Auxiliary held a picnic that was attended by 150 people. The Co-op Creamery was organized and would build a $16,000 building. At its first annual meeting at the creamery, the 600 people in attendance were told of a new contraband that could melt 50 cows at market. In January 1931, a fire destroyed the state capitol. Some urged that because of its central location, Drake should be the new capital. Well, we all know that didn't happen. An overheated furnace destroyed Schrader's hardware. There was much excitement in 1932. Rumors of gold. Gold nuggets were found in crossed chickens raised at Denby. Later, there was talk of gold near Granville and Brentford. Now, don't rush out. You better hear the rest of the story. Gold claims and contracts were staked on 50,000 acres, and gold mining began 8 miles north of Carlsbad, but it proved not to be of commercial quality. Butman Store installed a carbonating machine. Usually enough, after the wild later years of the 1920s, the clothing fashions of the early 1930s were more artistic in line and silhouette than any since the 1890s. The Depression years
Do not know who I am. We've been in here for 50 years now. You have to recognize me. Oh, Tiffany, you will know. Oh, they recognize you because you're really close on. You know, they need to stick down your old little 40 yards and stuff, get it in. Your waist is starting to shift.
accident last night. So the city of Annapolis had set up a memorial fund for Barry Dockman. We'd sure appreciate it if you would think about giving something to help his family over this tragic loss that we just suffered. There will be a can in the back after the program here, back where the silent auction is. And anything that you give will be greatly appreciated. And again, thanks for coming and helping us celebrate our Robert, but all of the other
Minot, North Dakota, July 3rd, 2002. Come on, smile, Betty.
Hi, Shirley.
He doesn't live in some city, does he?
No, but
Come over here and he turns his back to me.
Hey, Lyle, get your picture taken. How about that?
Gladys wanted to live in an area where
Yeah, he's trying to get a recollection of all the events, you know, that went on back in those days.
Did you get it?
I'm getting it, yeah. This is Drake, 1950 and 51.
Great.
Okay. This is our tap dance class.
We had a apartment above our floor of our house there for a while. The guy that run the telegraph operator stayed first and second grade. Every time school started, 24 hours, one piece for a penny.
Was the name on it? Do drop in, something else in there. They call it the do. Did you run into Jerry Dieter?
No.
You said
Because they're afraid of, I don't know, security or whatever, I don't know. In case somebody's after somebody.
he's not on anybody's list, I don't think.
But he did go into service with Lyle and Lee.
Dwayne Hasbrook, he says, not Dwayne.
He's coming now. He's coming.
Teacher.
Who's that?
Back in those days.
Who's that?
Well,
Dorothy Wentz. Oh, Dorothy.
One teacher.
Bless your heart. Come here. Come on down.
You
Oh,
didn't remember me, huh?
I don't know you guys anymore. I haven't seen you for years.
Hey,
North.
Everybody knows me. Would you
Where's
come
the
to the
7th and 8th grade
Band, 1947-48.
I quizzed Madge Fulman, you know, she was rated when people didn't know
Okay.
who Arnie on is, but
Okay.
she'd give you the dictionary. Do you know about her English teacher or something?
Yeah.
I think the eighth grade was-
Eighth grade.
I think the eighth grade was in the assembly, wasn't it? No. I started eighth grade, Rick, but was we in our own home or was we in high school?
You mean we had all the classes in?
We did.
No.
But we went to...
Harley?
Bob Greenwood, Betty.
Oh, Jesus. I don't know you guys no more. Come here.
We're staying with Beth's sister.
What kind of work is that? Oh, an old picture?
Yeah.
One time when you were out in Cheyenne. These people, I wouldn't know some of them anymore.
I don't know any of them. We have to hang in there. This could be our last one, Betty.
Huh?
We...
Well, I did one where my dad got killed.
Stop messing with her for 10, 15 minutes. You have to have them tell me how goddamn bad the
Over there.
You gotta sign in.
Oh, you gotta
Yeah,
sign in?
well, you don't...
It's a long one.
I think Eugene is about 16.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds funny, doesn't it?
Hi, how are you?
I told Shirley it is. I said she thinks I'm the greatest appliance salesman in the world.
Well, my mom still has
Geraldine Dieterle. There's Merlin Olson. Now lives in San Pedro. Chuck Drake. Lives in Colorado. Lyle.
It's really gonna be
This in
nice.
Colorado or Arizona.
So many this trip. You
And
never
there's
know what
Biddy.
the next one's gonna bring, you know?
Okay, Biddy, I got your high school picture. Look at me now.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Shirley. Ooh.
Jerry Olson.
Oh, you weren't here when I was
He's here.
You just got here?
Pete Gosmo. He'll be coming.
Oh, my God. It was
Paul Murbeck.
111.
Don't know about him. Curtis Erickson's supposed to be here.
Joyce was out fishing.
Jerry Kemper has passed away. Tony Lemire lives in Colorado, not coming.
I tried that.
Nolan Seehofer lives in Harvey.
Did you?
Lawrence Pluckmeyer has passed away. Shirley Drake behind the camera. Carol Strage, not here. Laverne Jans, not here. Lester Springer will be here.
Oh, I have some beer. Oh, that's gold too. Did you?
Today.
Oh, did you? Yeah, she was sleeping.
I woke her up.
Still in Minneapolis or Minnesota? No. It's nice. We lived in Minneapolis. We lived in 16.
I really do.
We're only a few miles from
Well, Bob and I are going to fly. We were there in 93.
actually it's half.
And I heard that was really good. And then, since it we were sucked in, as they call it. That's what Gene Henderson did.
And like I said, the gold's been going down. They really think
They didn't understand they were nobody when they were in high school. And I said,
life changes.
yeah. I mean, there was some people who were real timid and shy. And now all of a sudden, you know, they've made something of themselves. Probably double duty. Not tomorrow. But the next day, standing while I talked to my sister's husband, graduating. So we're going to go to Stanley for a little bit. It's fun to see the teachers like that. See a bunch of my students from way back.
Whatever.
I think it went over the last time I really talked to you, remember I was out there, she had just fallen on the ice, so I was laid out there at night, and nobody would.
Oh, that was my dog. Call me on Memorial.
Deal is there, was that some kind of a play?
I think so. That was Barbara Adams.
Yeah,
I think she was getting Shirley ready for something.
put makeup on and a play or
Who
something.
did they say this boy was?
Leo Dosha. I don't know.
Oh, well. Shirley Drake's looking at.
Oh, saddle shoes and all,
You got that right.
sitting on the pot.
Called it our grandstand.
No.
It's gone.
We used to go up there and check on Patsy Cagle and do that hole that time I went up there.
I wonder
found out we were out there
whose
peeking on
pot I'm sitting on.
I don't know. Yeah, got
It's a
out.
class
died
of
in that house.
52.
They'll carry me out of there. That's my home. It's made for mine. I put a lot of work into it. You ever drive by there? I'm Park Street, straight up from the First Western Bank, you know where that is. Okay, you go up that steep hill there and go down north.
Class of 53.
The other one probably should have been done first, Shirley.
That's okay.
That's my life right now. I got a little dog that spent 14 years with me in my home. That's still not.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I don't have to work anymore. I was working. I worked at the Moose up until May here.
Did you?
Yeah.
I knew you were up until May.
Yeah, I had a quit. I'll be at the next reunion. I'll be here anyway. You guys want to?
I wonder if he wasn't from 48 or 49. You know, I don't think he's the 50s.
Oh, it'd be 6? No, okay. No.
48 or something.
Dennis Almy was like 48 or 49.
Yeah, he was 2 years.
Yeah.
I tell you, when we were freshmen, they were as a freshman, Dennis Elm and Ellen Daly.
You know what? I remember taking some of your good books to help me through high school.
Sorry now that she's not coming. They have just sold their lake cottage, and she says paperwork is in the offing, and she said I could come down.
Tell her hi.
Oops.
You can't really miss these because it's all to be the last one.
You want to believe it?
You know, in 1952, when they had the 50th celebration, Ray, and they had the carnival on Main Street, and right in front of Schrader's, and me and Sutton were in the airplanes. Sutton Roof. And he said, twirl her again, Jimmy, you know. And we took the tournament twirl. And I always said to my...
And the clothesline behind the theater. And I heard that you and Merlin, the two of you, tied 2 cattails together and threw them over the clothesline.
You have us confused with Little Buzz and Big Buzz.
Oh, really?
You want to get in there and have me take the picture?
Sure. Just let it roll. Let it roll.
Oh, it's running now?
This is some of the mythology that's going on in literature. So I remember some of those stories.
So you didn't do the cats?
That's
Just like a horror movie. There you are. Okay. Got them all, Shirley. Got them all. I what?
Got them all?
Got them all.
Okay, let it run. I got my tape.
How do you turn this thing on?
Cigarettes and
I don't know why I'm doing this. She said, let her run. Now you get in there. No, I don't know how to do it. Maybe I'm back.
We're playing
Sleazel be the mill. Sleazel be the mill. How do you turn it on?
Anyway, yeah, so we're sitting around and...
I'm a spacious lady Nancy. Pardon me? I'm always spacious lady in the head. You know, he has some... Pardon me? Oh my gosh. And this is... Oh my God. I'm fine, I'm fine. It's not these, that's Dale.
Window, they're all 9,000 times. Drake's Tyler, she looked at me.
Tyler, Taylor,
Standing in the door.
There's a guy way over there with the red
I'm glad that I was able to attend everyone. I can say that. And, you know, I'm glad that you all made it safe. And I do hope that one thing that you make a real safe trip back home again. And not only this, but I don't even have to introduce myself because everybody knows me. I don't know everybody. This is really a funny thing. I can walk in here and somebody say, well, that's Betty. Thanks a lot, you know? There's other things that I remember, and I want to tell you, when I went to school and I started out in grade, I never thought I was ever going to make it to be a senior in high school, you know? Hey, that was a fantastic thing for me to finish. But you know what? I got to thank all the people that helped me. You know, I stayed after school. And when I got done, and everybody was gone, hey, I went through the desk to find out what papers I could get completed better. So I made it, and I made it for the help of my classmates. You know, I think this is great for everybody that's here, because, like I said, none of us know how long we're going to be here. And you know, I'd like to pay a tribute to those that aren't here. So could we remain silent for a few minutes for those that are unable to be with us today? Thank you. You know, like I said, there's some of you that have been ahead of me in school. I'm really happy to have been able to take part in, I did last year. You know, it was really funny because I'll tell you that Gene Kemper and Al Boris or something else. They can get me in all kinds of trouble. Took a lot of walking. They do real things, you know. When I was younger, and I don't know if you were here last year, for the 5 years ago, and they told me about being peepees and I would agree. You know?
Sorry about that. I know Clinton real well, but I
don't know that, but they got in trouble.
I guess I wasn't
my mother
in
gave me
face. Yeah, sorry about that.
They were something else. They really had to laugh over it. You know, I hope and I pray that all of you make a very safe trip home. I can't say that enough. And I really thank everybody that I was able to see you all maybe one more time. Who knows which ones aren't going to be here the next one. I do. I thank you again.
Weren't you all to know that we didn't tie Betty to a tree? I want you to notice it's maroon and gold.
Yes.
That's what we are, maroon and gold. I don't know what the colors are nowadays. I guess I should apologize about this cap. It's a relatively new cap, and I wear them like this nowadays. I'm not sure. There are a few details I would like to take care of before I say a few words, and that's that we're not sure who's here, we're not sure how many are here, and we'd like to know how to get in contact with you should we have another reunion down the road. So there are sign-up sheets by class over here, and if you just check in and make sure that we know that you're here, if you want to leave us an email address or a telephone number, we'd be glad to take it. We're going to try to update our database, which is imperfect. we'll do our best to keep it. I want to thank two people that worked closely with me on this reunion. Actually, Dennis Bergstead was the lead dog, as we call him, and Elton Force is the other one. I know that some of you have helped beyond that, beyond those two, but those were individuals that worked real close to bring this group together. Dennis one time sent me an email. He said he's arranged for the dinner, he's arranged for the room, he's arranged for the sleeping rooms, and he's found a guest speaker. That's me. Thinking that Dennis did a wonderful job in '93, I thought I wouldn't give him any static. He's taller than I am, so I just said, I'll do it. But I really couldn't think of what to say. I decided that I would tell some stories about many of you. And then when I met you, the stories that I remembered, I don't quite dare to tell up here, in most cases. But I'm going to tell a few of them. Yeah, I'm going to tell a few. But if we had the time tonight, I would like to just... every Drake graduate why you are here. Because there's all kinds of other places to be any day, but especially on the 4th of July. So what is there about Drake or about Drake High School or about the people that were there that have instilled in you a spirit to come forth today? I'm glad that it did. I'm going to tell you my story. It happened early in my career. I worked for a company that made anti-ballistic missiles, the kind that get stuck in the ground, the kind that are down by Drake and were all over North Dakota. My job was simple. If an enemy ballistic missile strikes one of our missile fields, how many of our missiles will be rendered inoperable and how many people will be killed? That hurt. Because I was calculating the probability that you people in North Dakota would get killed. From then on, I started to think all the time, frequently, about what Drake meant to me, because there's a missile sitting right north of Drake. And lots of memories came forth. So let me tell you a few of them in the hopes that they jog some of your memories. I can remember when I started. I was born in the Drake Hospital. How many of you were born in the Drake Hospital? My goodness, that's wonderful. I didn't realize there'd be that many. I don't remember when the hospital went out of business after I was born, I guess. But anyway, my first day of school, my mother was a former elementary teacher in Drake. She was taking me across the street, because I lived just east of the school, to go to school, to get registered. Up comes this car, parks in front of our place, out hops a mother and their little guy, and they're going to go across the street, and the little guy's going to get registered in school with me. Well, the little guy wasn't too anxious to go to school. He really put up one heck of a fuss. And by the time they got across the street, he had his mother convinced, wait a year. I'll go next year. Now that's why Elton Force is on the committee here. Their score on the test on Indian symbols than we did. Now we couldn't figure out how the heck that could happen, because she never played Cowboys and Indians a day in her life. So I'm going home. I get home and I tell my mom, I got to get out of this chicken outfit. I don't want to go to school anymore. Girls can't get better scores on Indian symbols than boys can. Well, Mom has taken all this serious, being an ex-teacher and so on. My brother didn't take it quite so serious. He told me years later he almost fell off the toilet laughing. Anyway, that was a memory. And that's
You get another note, it might be a bad deal if you don't. You probably even without even know. Everything Dennis, he'll tell you.
interested in maybe trying this again in, say, 5 years? Or should we not do it at all, or what do you think?
Go for it.
I'd like to.
I'm here.
So try to get Jean information about your email addresses and all. We might give her another shot in 5 years if Essence here to help. That's real important. The other thing that we said is that we're going to be open tomorrow morning. We're not. There's too many people, I think, want to take off for a drink. So those of us that were here last night, we had them open it last night instead. We got a head start, and we won't be here in the morning. So when you get ready to leave, boy, head out to Drake. Gladys, you gonna make that nature bird walk at 6:30?
Dang it, Dennis.
The rest of us are. Has anybody got anything else they'd like to say? Yeah.
I just think we owe Dennis Burstead a big round of applause for her.
I think we owe Chuck Drake a round of applause. We got Merlin Olson and Curtis Erickson here for the first time ever.
Right up.
Anybody else wants this, why, come on up. Otherwise, why, we're here till midnight. Yeah.
It's the 50th anniversary of the class of 52. I would like the classmates please to meet somewhere so we can have a group picture.
Okay, did you hear that? It's the 50th anniversary for the class of 52. And Bernice would like to get you off somewhere and to get pictures. I think that's kind of important, so go ahead. Get that done.
Hi. In 1952, you just brought it up, you graduated.
Who are you?
Oh, who am I? Okay, the older group knows me as Paul Murbach's little brother.
Little kid, little brother.
The middle group knows me as Lawrence Murbach's little brother. The rest of you know me as that damn Murbach. It took me to 21 before I knew his 3 words. In 1952, the class, I know more about that class than my own, went to for their skip day, went down to the penitentiary and spent the day down there going through. At that time, a gal from Eureka, South Dakota came up and met Jerry Olson and another guy and took their picture, which I have right here. She's on her way to Eureka for their 50th anniversary. It turns out the other guy on the picture is my little brother, Paul. I showed it to Jerry and he was pretty impressed by it. So I know what you guys did at your vacation. Talking about things and memories, I can remember a guy that they threw the ball up for a free throw, tapped it, and made it. He organized this. I remember Ralph Shealy dribbling through Mauro Hirsch's legs one time for a layup. I remember a guy that used to get out, and he taught this part of the state how to count to 3 every time he shot a free throw. Jack Albert. Remember that? 1, 2, 3. The whole audience knew. Those are things. There's a lot of other things we remember. I remember a lot of you in different places, different things. What you said to me, like Harvey says, what a hellraiser. I don't believe I was. But the years at Drake were good years. I remember going and teaching school and nobody pulled anything on me that was new at school because I learned it all at Drake. So, also reviewing time, I think we have to think about some of the people that weren't here. Every ball game, everything you participated in, you could have gone uptown today and weeks following and Adolph Doctor and Lloyd McQuay and a few others, I can't remember them all, could have told you play-by-play of every game that you were in and could have told you back 10 years ago of every game that you played in, play-by-play. They believed in us. And we did our best to believe in ourselves. You had a coach by the name of Jim Weezy. Now, Jim isn't here, but I'm going to tell you one thing. I don't think he was that smart. He used to get us down in the gym and he'd tell you, you're going to do this and you're going to do that, and if you don't like it, that's TS, tough cookie. The guy couldn't stop. I was going to go home and tell my mother he couldn't stop, but Warren says, don't bring it up. Another thing, I got into trouble. I tripped one of the guys. He's here, but I won't tell you his name. And they must have been impressed with my new shoes because they were those engineer boots, you know, with the buckles on them. Well, I tripped them. Mrs. Adams sent me down to see Mr. Weezy. And he taught me what the Board of Education was. He must have been impressed by my shoes because he says, grab those buckles. Secondly, that was my second encounter with him that he wasn't too smart. Because he asked me, did that hurt? Do you want another one? Oh, no. Coming up the line, I remember the teachers. Dennis's mother was my second grade teacher. I had the biggest crush on her. Oh, I loved her all the way through the second grade, all 3 years. Mrs. Chadwick, Chadwick? What? Chadwick, okay. Remember her? Mrs. Witham. In the 7th and 8th grade, we had the Marine. I think every one of us could sing the Marine song. Leroy Bowman. We got into high school, and teachers changed. Mrs. Adams, we had Mrs. Gilmer was our English teacher, took her place. I can remember we put on a play. She was sitting behind me, 65-year-old gal. She's sitting behind me on one of those milk stools to prompt you. Of course, that's when you practice for plays. It went on for a couple of weeks, just getting ready for it. And I had this part to say, when Jim Ulick got up out of his bed, ran to the bathroom and come back, I was supposed to say, do you feel better? And every night at practice, do you feel better? Do you feel better? Do you feel better? And it went on. Well, the night of the play, she's sitting behind me on one of those little milk stools, going to prompt me. Jim gets up and runs to the bathroom, comes back, and I says, did everything come out okay? Mrs. Gilmore was going to fall off that chair. Our teachers did play a big role. The one teacher that I remember the most, Robert Drake, is not here, and that was one of my favorite teachers. But thank you all. Thank you for putting this together. Dennis, you have a good crew, but you're a good leader. Thank you.
Mrs. Graham was our coach. Mrs. Ed Graham from Annapolis.
What grade or what kind of subject did she teach?
Lord, I don't know.
I haven't bought it out. Oh, you did? Well, I had a book of them and I sold four tickets all this while. I kept some because I took the 6. Yeah.
You don't mind if I bring the camera and the thumbs on this week?
No. Go ahead. No problem. So you don't take a picture of us. Yeah. Yeah, we bring cameras.
I see somebody doing it, I didn't know, that's what she like to make the pictures of all this.
Oh.
Couldn't believe what you got upstairs. That's something.
Yeah. That isn't ours, so. No. This stuff used to be right under the floor, right? And that's a real, it's a narrow one board, now I have a wonderful. Yeah, it has something, real narrow boards. How you doing, Mel?
Good for sure.
Good.
You know me.
Well, that's right. Absolutely. How's your dad doing? He's about the same, I'd say. Yeah.
He doesn't change much. We saw him yesterday. Can't remember him and stuff. Otherwise, he's healthy.
This morning we stopped there for dinner and we put him in bed. We thought we'd stop in and sat him in the park. He's starting to lose his memory a little bit. So ripe old age. Yeah, I guess so. Nice. And he wishes he could pass on. Yeah. Yes, people that would like to live, they die, and the people that want to die, they do not. Is it dry down your way? It's been hot, so it dries up, but if we had that 5-day rain in June, it would be about 5 inches of rain. It was at the beginning of June, and now it's coming right up, but I guess it's still a lot better than Silvertown Street. I heard last night they got lots of rain, south of maybe Florida, like Boston. Yeah, and I missed, now the river is going and like Texas, huh? Maybe that's where it was. Yeah. But some parts are so dry.
I don't have a date on here. What is today's date? Is the 5th of July. And we have Mr. Clinton Forrest right there.
I was going to say 1947, but that's the plaque.
We can remember that, can we?
Your name?
Sylvia Borchard.
Sylvia
Gosmo.
Cosmo. Okay. Vivian? And do you live in California, Vivian?
Right.
Where at?
Petaluma. That's the arm wrestling championship spot.
Is that your husband?
Really? Huh?
Who, me?
Yeah.
My name is Vern Bloomhagen.
Well, I'll be jiggered. You're in Oregon. No, you're not. You're in North Dakota.
Well, right now I'm in North Dakota.
Yeah. And who's the lady next to you?
I'm Helene Eichhorn, McQuay Cowles.
Oh, for crying in the beer mug.
Keller.
Selma Nissen, I remember that name.
Mm-hmm. I think Beverly was a classmate.
Yes, and this gentleman?
I belong to her.
You belong to you're the other half.
The other half.
Okay.
I belong to that Eileen, whatever all her name she was.
The whole one with the long name, right.
Jim Borchard.
I got pictures of you. Were you playing basketball with Merle or football or something?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, and this gentleman?
Benny Martin.
I remember you now.
Yeah?
Yep.
But I didn't remember.
This is Harlow's sister taking the pictures.
And your name again is what, sir?
Me, Shirley?
You're not saying Jay Springstead. I want you to say that.
You're supposed to say you're Jay Springstead.
He won't do it.
He won't?
That's my husband, Jack Cowles. Now, he claims he's never met you, and I can't believe it.
Oh, man.
Same business too all those years.
Yeah.
Put your name in there for Patsy.
Boy, I never met that John Deere dealer. That's funny,
This
you
is
know.
all
Yeah, that, I
Oh,
can't
God,
understand that.
There's very few people that get by with that.
But see, he was international.
Yeah, I know.
Well, good. Hi, Jim. What's your name? Jotaro. Forgot I'll get Springstead at.
I'll get Benny to help.
And we borrow your car.
Yeah, we go.
We'll bring it back in one piece. Okay.
Well, we used to go out there.
Sure.
Boy, that had to be going for a while.
Glenn found out about it. So the first thing he does is call the county auditor. He called the fire department and the post office. Well, I knew they were wrong. One of the county commissioners come up and told me about it, and the county auditor told me they were wrong. So I knew Glenn would check, so I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I went out and I moved them to the right place. My golly, you know, Glenn went out there again, and signs were right, but he says, I don't know how they got them back that quick, you know. He knows everything, you know.
Oh, they
These
have.
curve signs on the road? Or
No,
what?
the 911 signs, you know, we have them here.
We got street signs. North McHenry County has got streets and avenues. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Clinton did his designing on that, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, Clinton done the work on that.
Where is the baseball? Where are the...
Well, Selma, give me time.
Get out the sponsor.
They're playing golf?
We only have this.
And,
5.5 inches.
well, hello there. How are you? How are you?
Oh, very good. Left-handed. Yeah.
We'll see our neighbor.
Left-handed.
There.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we should have looked to see if they had
Thrash machine. I'm Gordon Eugene thrashing machine. That's usually much better rhyming than Gordon Eugene combine, so I've stuck pretty much with that thrash machine. How many of you fellows or ladies out there ever worked thrash machines before? Hey, there's quite a few from this area. That's pretty good. I used to play post office in the old thrash machine there on the park. Remember that? Anyway, I would like to explain that I didn't start playing piano by notes. About 30 below here. A rental car, and it comes from Montana, and it is parked in front of the ice cream place downtown, and that needs to be moved. So if you have a rental car from Montana, please take care of that. Thank you. Okay, sometimes they call me Shorty Gordy. I'm not the tallest person in the world. Back when I turned 40, they said, oh, Lordy, Gordy, you're turning 40, Shorty, Gordy. Oh, yeah. So when I did start playing piano, I played by ear and I learned songs like this.
one that some of you maybe remember from years ago.
Probably won't come down here. I don't think he'll be at the school.
Now standing up, in case you're wondering.
Hi, Red.
Now is the age, how many 10-year-olds do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hey, it's nice to see you young children here. And I want to tell you a little story of how I actually learned how to play the piano. That was playing by ear, just learning to play songs by hearing them. When I was 10 years old, my piano teacher said, learn to take one finger at a time. So I played like this. Day in and day out when I played like that. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Every day. Every month. Until I got to be 11 years old. And my teacher said, you can now play with 2 fingers. 2 fingers will be twice as good as 1 finger. So I played January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. Like that. And then when I was 12, she said, you can now use your thumb. And 2 fingers, you form a chord in music. So this is the way it sounded. And I practiced Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I thought when she said to use your thumb, she meant to hitchhike. Anyway, I ended up at Drake, went all the way from Max to Drake. If you hear me snorting once in a while, it's like I'm back on the farm again, because they used to raise pigs for Boy, that was fun. And I want to tell some of you old-timers, I had a kerosene lamp at the top of the piano. Any of you remember the kerosene lamps? Must be the oldest one here. So here we go with 13 years old. Years old. And then my teacher said, do more with your left hand. I was 15 and a half years old. My problem at that point was I was beginning to believe Mary did have a little lamp. So now I'm about 16 years old, and I had to learn to play with a little finesse, you know. Senior in high school. Where's that melody? That's how I learned how to play the piano. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Then I did go to college, and I did take some lessons in college. Ended up majoring in music. So when I went to college, they learned me how to phrase properly, raise your hands correctly when you play. But very friendly crowd. This one for a great country, the USA, called Under the Double Eagle. Playing with my hands a little bit too high. Thing happened last night when I performed on, was Malta or Fillmore, I forget which town I was in last night. Silva. No, I guess it was Orin. No, you know where I was last night? Lincoln Valley.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, people here at Lincoln Valley. When I visit my good friend, Francis Gus Julia, doctor, I was hear a little bit about Lincoln Valley. Say, I'm going to play a little bit of a song by Frank Mills. Where'd everybody go? It's embarrassing when everyone leaves and you're just getting started. Well, there you are. Nice crowd. This is a song by Frank Mills. It's called Music Box Dancer. He is a Canadian composer. That's why I have this hat on. And also I live only 15 miles from the Canadian border. I have a lot of Canadian friends. But this one I don't know too well, so I'm going to really have to concentrate and keep my thoughts. And I'll have to really watch the keyboard. Getting to know it better. It's nice to be playing Baldwin piano. I'd like to show you another Baldwin. That's a Baldwin. Yeah, no grass grows on a busy street, you see. I don't know if that's true or not. Well, I'll tell you what, this is kind of a clapping hat here, so we're just going to have a little audience participation. Find people there. Why don't you clap where you think you should clap? line and thinking about heading out for Martin. Check out the new Kmart. The Blue Light Specials. I love the small town. This song is very slow, but listen, picks up. Remember Joanne Castle on the Mark Falk Show? Yep. She really played some good music. You can sing along. Everybody, we'll have a fair. Hey, good. Right here in Drake, you know. Happy time. The gang for the gang. Now, good old German polka. This will be my 18th year there, returning again this year. Sometimes I have to play some Scandinavian music there. But when I was in Norway in 1985, ladies and gentlemen, this is a true story. Actually, Myron Thorne let me play some, Greek music and some of the great music of Norway. And then I can remember when I learned those Norwegian songs at home. My father and mother would sit there and listen to me practice on my lessons. And I really don't think they maybe appreciated it that much, like hearing Bach. Here's Bach. Bach had 23 children. He was a musician. But maybe, talking about that machine. Get this. I think the other one is to separate the other two. That's why.
He said he was going to be here.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you one thing. How many of you people are from out of state? Out of state? Quite a number. Yeah. You know something? It's pretty nice to come home, isn't it? Visit the relatives and the friends here at Drake, North Dakota. When you think about it, starting in 1902, just think about how times were then. Mr. Drake is thinking about, I think we should have a town here. I think maybe Animals was already there, probably. But if you think back, there wasn't too much around. They truly were looking at the great green grass of home. They were hardworking people. They homesteaded the land. many of your relatives sitting there 100 years ago. And it's so fun to come back and just remember the old schoolhouse. I'll bet you remember some of you sitting there, going down the hall, certain things that happened right here in this gymnasium. It's a time to reflect and think the good memories. Yep, I can remember certain things about myself growing up. When I first learned to drive a D. John Deere. Now my name is Shorty Gordy, so that explains why I couldn't drive a tractor that had a clutch. Because my feet wouldn't touch the clutch. So I was entrusted with the famous D. John Deere. And up the road I would go in road gear, 6 miles an hour. And my hair would be waving in the breeze. And it felt so good. I truly was touching the green, green grass of home. And now I'm thinking back some of my memories. It was a tough time starting that D. John Deere, ladies and gentlemen. I'd crank on that thing, down to the ground I would go. I'd hit hard too. I'd get up and I'd try to turn that flywheel. Down to the ground I would go. There are doctors as far away as Rochester, Minnesota, that claim from falling from the flywheel. That's the reason I lost my hair. And then my brother said, why don't you open up the petcock? For you younger people, you get rid of some of the compression. So I'll open that up and I'll be darned. Just, boy, that sounded good. I just took off. What a feeling that was. But I'm sure many of you sitting there, or probably 1/4 of you at least, remember those days. I couldn't drive the 1530 International or the 2236 because I couldn't steer them. Sometimes one of my brothers would stand on the south end of the field, wait for me to get there, then they'd turn the tractor for me and head me back north. And another brother would be waiting to turn me south. Kind of interesting, but one of the brothers is sitting out there right now. Actually, when I think about it, I think he had an easier job than I did. He was eating all the lunch. But you know, I bet you have so many wonderful memories of growing up in this fine community. I can remember thinking back myself when I was in 4-H, I used to raise half chickens and half turkeys. They were called turkins. You take the first 3 letters of turkey and the last 3 letters of chicken, you've got a turkin. They didn't have any feathers on the top of their back, quite a bit like my head. They were good eating. I remember raising those turkins. Playing up by the Sioux Line track, I could run right through that culvert because I was short enough. I didn't have to bend over. But that's touching the old green grass of home. And I want to wish all of you a very, very enjoyable weekend here. I just wanted to touch a little bit of green, green grass of Drake. 1800. And said, one song I remember was Doodly Doo, and that was 1900. I was born in 1910.
Right.
You still all believe that?
Yeah.
Ja, ale staro ruski trusty training language. Boy, I wish I had basketball right now. I can still make 7 out of 10 free throws most of the time. I always enjoyed sports so much, and I would get a chance to go to a country in Norway when I was a youngster. I didn't think I'd ever be able to do something like that. It was mostly through the channel thing in North East or Minor North Dakota.
Where you guys been?
So that was quite an experience. Chop the eggs. I'm reminiscing here a little bit. But anyway, I went to Norway, and Myron Florin was the featured soloist, of course, but he let me play a little bit at each concert. This was in 1985, so I played some of Grieg's music at each concert.
Jim Kramer. Does anyone know who Jim Kramer is? He needs to move his car. So if anybody knows who he is, please meet me out front. Thank you.
The way it worked in Norway. When it was Norwegian, I think. But the orchestra was playing, and I got ready to play my sheet music. This is sheet music. I like the aroma of summertime. Oh, it reminds me of baling hay along Highway 83. It was these same gloves I wore. They're all torn now. I had a 45 International baler I was using. Tried to make money to go to Concordia College. I went there my first 4 years. And yeah, those knotters weren't working on that 45. You had to retie a lot of bales. W4 in front of it. Excuse me. The opposite of that would be the foxtail, I remember. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, we should take more time, and I'm talking about myself too, we should take more time to see the beauty around us. We should take more time to look at God's great sky and just think. Look, sometimes we get too busy, don't we? But it's so important, we should do those things. But now, I thought gloves through the sheet would be interesting. I'm afraid that from a technical standpoint, this is going to be very hard to do. I'm trying to think of Drake's first name. Herb Herman Drake. Here's where I really need your help. You are my sunshine, you make me happy. You'll never know a deer till you hit one. Please don't take it. The other night, dear, the other night, I dreamed I held you in my arms. When I awoke, it was surprising. It was secret. And I hung my head. Everybody, much louder. You are my sunshine. You are my sunshine. That's better. Love it, love it. You make me happy. You never know, dear. Yeah, and there was a song. Thank you. There's a song written, I think, going back to 1916, 17, or 18 or so. Let's do one verse of that. Shine on, shine on. I ain't had no lovin'. January, February, June, July. What gear do you yodel in? What key? Is it a key of whiskey or E flat or what key? You don't know. Are you a bass or a tenor? You know, maybe he lives 10 or 12 miles from here. Okay. Oh, okay. And what do you do, John? Are you're a professional yodeler? Oh, just for the, just do it. Okay. I'll try in the key of... priorities. Thank you.
Crumbling down. Last one that took a picture of this was Butch. He was here, when he was here and took the picture, the Janarvis family lived over there, and they came out and they says, "Who in the hell are you? And what are you doing around here?" Like this. This is a city hall. That's good. You're doing good. And the Legion. And the post office. Cars. Real cars. Barbershop. That's not open today, is it? And there's the old bar. And Melvin and Helen's old grocery store. The old drugstore is boarded up. Oppin's Market, boarded up. Penny store, boarded up. When Butch was here, they had broken windows in there. And here's the old bank. Nothing in here?
Yeah, the beauty salon.
Oh, beauty salon in there. Okay. Bakery for sale. And this store here used to be going down to the bowling alley, right?
Yeah.
And was that where there was a bar?
That was Gus's place there.
Yeah.
And there was a bar right in that white door.
And then this is where E.W. Forrest used to live.
Yeah.
They had a barbershop over there one time, didn't they?
Barbershop there.
And the cafe here is closed.
Closed.
Still have a couple outhouses. Now can you make one little U-turn and go back up now?
Yeah.
And then we can go.
Driving like he's got a case of eggs in the tank.
And there used to be a gas station right here. Adolph Doctor. This is the Morris Bar. Is there still, there's no hotel?
No hotel.
Oh my goodness. And was there ever anything in here?
Ford Garage.
That's right, I was thinking that was... Well, the Ford Garage was still standing 25 years ago.
Yeah.
This is another bar. Used to be Gamble's.
Yeah.
They're closed. There's the senior citizens.
The old post office used to be there.
Yeah, and that's where Harlow had his candy storage place.
This was Shook Insurance Agency. House behind where Shirley used to live.
Yeah, the old red apartment building right back there. And this used to be Bozzard's, what, Bozzard's Implement or Hardware? Old John Deere place.
There was Emil's Bar.
Yeah, that was a fun place. Dr. Herdinsky's old clinic. Took care of a lot of people there. And here's the expensive bank. What'd you say that cost to build?
$650,000.
Wow.
Full basement underneath it.
Wow. Okay, that's where Grandpa Drake's house used to sit.
I feel like I'm married to some of these guys, you know? And it's not a pretty thought either. You need a trust factor with each other.
He's there covering my back. I'm not worried about it. I cannot see doing it.
I was working for somebody that day because his daughter had a graduation on Father's Day.
I got 2 small kids at home, and we were going to make Father's Day as best we could. Tiger Woods, I think, was vying for first place in the U.S. Open. About 2 hours later, the run came in.
By 200. There was LED on the standpipe. There were 4 scissors stairs on the first and 46th floor. There was